Last week we looked at 1997's Die Hard Arcade, which was an excellent SEGA Saturn exclusive. Well, today we're going to shift gears and tackle Die Hard Trilogy, which was originally released on the PlayStation, SEGA Saturn, and PC back in 1996. The PlayStation 1 version was actually released a couple of months earlier than the PC and SEGA Saturn version. This game collects 3 different games in one package, which I'll describe in full detail in just a bit. Back in the day, it was extremely well reviewed. IGN gave it a 7.5 and GameSpot gave it a whopping 9.4. I personally know a couple of people that really liked this game when it was released on the PS1, but I always thought it was a little bit of an above average to good game. Somewhere along the lines, believe it or not, of IGN's 7.5. The 3 games were good, but I never found them to be overly great, like I did with Die Hard Arcade. So as the name would imply, you play through each of the core movies from the original Die Hard trilogy. You know, the movies before Live Free and Die Hard, and A Good Day to Die Hard. You have your choice between tackling 15 stages of pure action in the Nakatomi Plaza, which naturally is based off the original movie, or you can try and survive the Dulles International Airport from Die Hard 2, or make your way through New York in a cabbie, which you'll recall from Die Hard with a Vengeance. Each of these 3 games is completely different, but they're all fun in their own right. The Nakatomi Plaza game is by far the most challenging, as you're tasked with taking out all the enemies on a given floor. You can rescue captured citizens, defuse bombs, and more. The thing is that if you just run out and gun everyone down, you're going to get destroyed. You need to play smart, which is where a bit of the strategy comes into play. Do you hide and wait for enemies to walk by? Do you sort of try and sneak around them? The choice is yours. Needless to say, you'll be making the most of the in-game map for this particular game to pinpoint your next move. Regardless of what you do, it's quite challenging, and the controls haven't aged all that well, so it can be somewhat challenging to precisely lock onto enemies, which causes more than a few deaths for McClane. The light gun game is by far my favorite of the bunch, although the gameplay you're seeing here is of me using the standard Saturn pad, and that's because I wanted to show you guys the game in 1080p without having to jigger something up where I could use my light gun and CRT. What I enjoy the most about the light gun game is just how interactive the environments are. You can blow up sections of just about everything, bullet holes stay in walls, and much more. This was really impressive for 1996, and it remains fun to play today, given all the different weapon variety and all the whoops moments from killing civilians. The last game is that cabbie driving game where you're charged with taking out bombs, enemies, and more as you frantically race against the clock on the streets of New York. This one controls very much like an arcade racer and holds up more or less nicely given the fast-paced nature of the game. It is a little jarring coming to a dead stop when you slam into certain obstacles though. The whole package is rather surprising considering you're getting 3 full video games. Typically these sorts of compilations were reserved for bargain bin crap, but here you might just be surprised how much fun you'll have with each one of these games. Like I said, some elements haven't aged quite so well, particularly aiming from the first game and the overall graphics. But that said, this one is actually really easy to recommend on either the PlayStation 1 or the Saturn. Be warned PS1 fans though, because from what I recall, the gun con doesn't work with this game. All 3 of these titles combined make this really a must-have game. It's just that when you play them individually where I find them to be decent to good. Now there is some good news I have for all of you. If you're interested in this particular game, it's actually somewhat reasonable on the secondhand market. Don't just jump in and purchase a buy it now. Make sure you look around because you can actually get this one for the, $15 to $20 range depending on where you look. So that wraps up our coverage of Die Hard Trilogy, but be sure to join us next week as we polish off the working designs games on the Saturn with a look at SEGA Ages.